StefatNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Put 'em down. Stay in step. Sounding good. Listen up. Got to learn. New cadence.
Here we go.
You can do it. Listen up. Stay in step. Keep clapping.
Okay, that can mean only one thing, and that means it's time for David's Pick. And we've got a very special guest on, and want to remind everybody that, David's Pick is sort of David's Pick, but it's also sort of a show for the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. And if you haven't been to the Hall of Fame, then you really need to go and check it out. It's in downtown Atlanta, right across the street from the Capitol. And we've got a very special guest on today that's involved with our youth, and that even makes him more important. And it's Colonel Rick Stepat. And Rick is a retired colonel from the Army and has a very interesting resume. And he's going to explain to us later what keeps those things that have no wings flying in the air. And anybody that went to Nam, and I did not go to Nam, and I always want to make that clear, but I do know the sound of the doom, 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 and coming in, and we always show our highest respect and admiration for the dust-off pilots in Vietnam. They were extraordinary. They are extraordinary individuals, and they saved so many lives in Vietnam and in other wars since then. But we do salute them every week, and once again doing it today. So with that being said, Rick, welcome to America's Web Radio.
Well, thank you very much, David. It's an absolute honor to be here today. Thank you for having me on, and I tell you, it's truly a blessing to be able to head up this JROTC program at the King's Academy, and we have just awesome cadets, awesome program, and to God be the glory.
Well, we have gotten where, and I am very sincere about this. I have a son that's in the Air Force, stationed in Germany, an intel officer, and
awesome.
He is going to make a career of it. And we promote the military for anyone that's listening, be whatever age they are. If you're a grandparent, you have a grandson or granddaughter graduating from high school or from college, and we're going to say this probably 2 or 3 times during the show, Rick, but if they're graduating and they haven't made up their mind what they want to do, there is no better opportunity than today's military. And I don't care which branch it's in, but there are more opportunities in the military today than, as the old saying goes, you could shake a stick at.
That's right.
It is a great opportunity. And it's not just quote unquote the military. It's also all of the fringe benefits of it, from education to learning a trade to making the best friends you'll ever have in your life. And it also, you will be joining the biggest fraternity or sorority in the world. And that's the U.S. Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, whatever you decide you want to do. But there is a place for the young person in our military that will find it totally rewarding. And by the way, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong. You're more military than I am. But if you get in a situation, say you join the Coast Guard, and you decide, well, really, there's a program over in the Navy or in the Army that I would be interested in pursuing, you can switch services, correct?
Absolutely. That's happened quite a bit, actually. We actually have a lot of a lot of folks coming from the Marines. And the Marines are great service, but for some reason the former Marines find sometimes more opportunity maybe in the Army because it's bigger. Matter of fact, my non-commissioned officer that I serve with, great guy, Sergeant Robert Clements. We have a great team, and he was a former Marine and left and went to the Army. And so it's not uncommon to see that happen. And I agree with you. I love your comments about great place to start. A lot of those members that go into the military may not make a career out of it, but it's a great place to start, give you some skills, give you some money to save up, and some great experiences that you would have never gotten before. So I agree with your comments completely.
And it looks fantastic on your resume. And more and more people that are in hiring positions are looking, because they know that the training and the discipline that you've had being in the military is going to be a reflection of how you perform your job with a company. But let's get back to you, Rick. Tell us about your background and how you got from where you were to being with the Junior ROTC.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. So in order to be an Army JROTC instructor, or any JROTC instructor, you have to be retired from the military. So I spent 30 years in the military. I left high school too, went to college, and really didn't even have any intent of going in the military. My dad was fought in World War II, 28-year military man, and mostly on the reserves after his active duty in World War II. And he was encouraging me along the way, but like many kids going to college, I had to figure it out for myself. And so I went to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and about the second year I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. I needed some money, and plugged into the ROTC department and absolutely loved it. 3 years later, I commissioned as a second lieutenant in the armor field, and so I was a tanker. But that wasn't for me, and not only can you change branches, but you can change sometimes job skills within the Army. And so I would see these helicopters flying around, and a friend of mine said, you know, we're going to do that one day. And sure enough, we did what was necessary, got the proper testing, and did the physical. Next thing you know, we were off to flight school. And
wow.
So I spent most of my career as a pilot. Only the latter part of my career was I an intelligence officer like your son.
Well, you know, what keeps those things that they used to, many years ago, probably well before you were born, they used to call them mix masters, I believe, weren't they? And because the chopper, as they were called also, that those big blades going around and around, how in the world do they keep that thing up, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, a helicopter, it's a lot of opposing aerodynamic factors. A helicopter doesn't want to fly. You have to force it to fly up, unlike an airplane. An airplane
is... I know. I was a pilot. I was a general aviation pilot.
There you go. That's it.
I know how they work. I just never figured out the helicopter.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you have to force it to fly.
There you go. But it's like anything else. You know, the Army trains you very well, and they train you how to fly it. And when it doesn't want to fly, they train you very well in emergency procedures.
Yeah,
so,
the reverse
which we don't have very often.
Reverse rotary or whatever it's called. Reverse.
Yeah, auto rotation.
Auto rotation. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it's yeah. I think I prefer to stay up than come down.
There you go.
But you know, it's amazing the career, quote unquote, of the helicopter, and that they were, I guess, the first war they were really sort of used in was Korea. But as we've seen on MASH, the old Bell was used sort of as a dust off, but it was more like getting the wounded from one place to another in a fairly safe zone. Whereas in Vietnam, we started using the Hueys as dust-offs, and like I said to begin with, I have all the admiration in the world for the Huey pilots that flew the dust-offs, and the missions that they flew were just absolutely incredible. And I'll go
Right.
one step further: is the nurses that would climb on board a dust-off going after someone, and they were just as much in harm's way as the pilot was. So I love the United States of America, and I love more our veterans and the folks that have been called upon to do almost beyond human events, and take and do things that humans shouldn't even be called on to do, and yet they've done it. And
Yeah, that's right.
that goes for a lot of pilots, and particularly the dust off. Okay, so now you're trained as a pilot, a Apache pilot, right?
I was a Black Hawk pilot.
Oh, Black Hawk. I'm sorry. Oh, I could get in trouble for that, couldn't I?
That's okay.
And I always think of the Black Hawk on the ad where it's hidden behind trees or a mountain or something like that, and then it rises up and is ready to fire.
Yeah, the Black Hawk was actually the replacement, and the Huey and the Black Hawk were actually in service at the same time, and there are still some Hueys in service with the Marines. The Marines are flying twin-engine Hueys, and the Army always only flew single engine.
Right. Well, I knew there was some Hueys still in some guard units, but I didn't know that they were still on any kind of active situation.
Yeah, the Marines are still using them.
I'll be
They
darned.
arm them, and they put another engine on there, and it's a great platform.
Wow. Well, I think that, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Huey was the first armed helicopter, right?
That's correct. That's right.
And that all came about because of Vietnam.
Right.
And it I guess it revolutionized the helicopter industry, and the Black Hawk, golly, what it can do and what it could do at the time. Well, the time was really after Vietnam, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Right. It came into service probably the Black Hawk came into service probably the late 70s, and then went production I think early 1980. It went into production as the UH-60 Alpha model.
And it, as I recall, it's a two-seater, but it's front and back, and that's it, right?
Yeah, you have it carries 12 combat loaded troops, so it's a squad.
Okay.
And then you have two pilots and two gunner positions. So fully mission capable. You're carrying 16 people on board that airplane.
Wow. Okay, now we've talked about the fun part of it, but that's probably not true too. Let's talk about what you do with young folks, and
Great.
the ROTC mission, I think, and I didn't go through it. I wished I had. My son went through both the, he went to A&M, he went through the Corps as well as Air Force ROTC at the same time. And I certainly respect him highly for his career and what he's been doing, but he's a lot smarter than his father, and I didn't do any of it because there were rumors of what was going on in Vietnam, and I went the route of Dan Quayle, unfortunately, and that was a mistake on my part. But I made many of them in my life. But the ROTC, describe your program and how you look at the ROTC and the junior ROTC.
Well, thank you for asking, David. The mission, the Army and the service, the military is all driven by the mission. And so the mission statement in JROTC is motivating young people to be better citizens. And so that's what we try to do. And I think there's never a better time in the life of our country for us to be able to do that right now. Motivating young people to become better citizens. We need some great citizens out there, and I think we're able to execute that at the King's Academy. The King's Academy has been around for about 22 years, It's a terrific school, and that's the school that I'm located at in Woodstock, Georgia. There's probably about 1,700 programs, ROTC programs in the Army nationwide. We're one of them, and we've been around for about 10 years. They've had for 10 years. When I retired in 2000, I loved it, and now here I am 10 years later.
Okay,
And,
Rick, are you walking around or something? You're breaking up.
No, I'm stationary.
Huh. For some reason, you started breaking up as you were talking about that.
Yeah. So, but it's a privilege to be there. I get blessed by just being able to be around these wonderful cadets, and we start the school year about 50 cadets at the beginning of the year, and we teach them about leadership, citizenship. We have some physical training, and it's a great experience. The cadets love it. I like to say it's called fun with a purpose. They're having a great time. They get to know each other better. They get to lead and serve, but there's a purpose behind it, and that is we like to teach leaders, and we teach leadership. And leadership is the ability to influence others and to accomplish a mission by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. And that's the definition of it. And we see that. And we have some actually awesome cadets that we produce. They go to academies. They go to senior military colleges. I'd say about half of our cadets actually go into the military, some years more than others. But they all go out and do great things, and they have wonderful memories of our JRTC program. And I can just tell you also, it doesn't start when they get to my program. We have great parents, and it starts at home. And I think there's no better time now that to strengthen the family. And I just have the privilege of being able to some of these kids where it starts at home, and they get love, and they get encouragement, and I can teach them a little bit more and come alongside the parents and show them what it's like to serve. Because leadership is not about follow me. It's about serving those whom you lead, and so it's a little different than maybe they may have been taught before, but it's just a great to see it happen during their 4 years of JRTC.
You know, you brought up some interesting points that I don't know that the listeners necessarily grabbed onto or didn't grab onto, but you know, from what I was hearing, you're teaching or instructing or presenting. Maybe I like that word better than teaching. You're presenting an aspect that many years ago was also taught in what we call social studies or American history or whatever, and it really isn't taught today like it was when I was in school. And you also hit it on the head, too, about parents and the parents that will take their kids and teach them outside of school about how fortunate they are to live in the United States and what a great country they're in. And, you know, it takes that evening meal in many cases to do that. That's the only time the mother and father may see their kids together, you know. But
yes, that's true.
And it's a shame that we, in many cases, have gotten away from it. But you know, I commend you certainly for, and it's not your responsibility. This is my opinion. Not your responsibility to take up the slack, but it certainly sounds like you have. And you know, I would almost venture to say, I don't know how many kids you work with, but I would venture to say each and every one of them is different and has a need from you that's different from the person on their right or the person on the left, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, David. And just think about, you know, as a parent, sometimes, you know, the young man or young lady, we have a lot of great young lady cadets as well.
Mm-hmm.
More guys than girls, but some of the girls are just absolutely awesome, and they're actually can beat the guys in some of the activities that we do. But think about it, you know, sometimes you're telling your son or your daughter something over and over again, and you wonder why they're not hearing it, because it's mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
when someone else says it and you're saying the same thing but a different person saying it, you come alongside the parent and you're able to be of their values, what they appreciate and want to teach to these kids, and sometimes I'm able to reach them maybe even a little bit better than the parent, although I'm saying the same thing. If you follow that.
Oh yeah,
and
so I had this situation when I was in high school with my parents and my aunt and uncle. And my uncle I loved to death. I didn't love him more than I loved my dad, but you know, my dad was my dad, and my dad would tell me something, and I wasn't always resentful, but sometimes it didn't, like you said, it didn't stick. But my uncle could tell me exactly the same thing, and it made sense, and that was the way I'd go. And I, you know, but you know, that's you know, when I was 18, I knew everything, and the older I get, I don't even have the questions, much less the answers. And I think this is something that we all teenagers, that's why they're called teenagers and adolescents, and you know, we all go through it, and if we survive it, then we look back on our parents and say, you know, like we've always heard, boy, the older I get, the smarter my parents get.
That's it. And you know, we're a cadet-run program, so in other words, the cadets don't come in there and say, okay, Colonel or Sergeant, what are we doing today? I have some leaders. We're you know, modeled after a military-style structure, and that's the battalion within the Army. So, but we have cadet leaders that form an organization. And what I do is I meet with my top leader, my battalion commander, first thing in the morning, and I ask him, okay, what are we doing today? What's on the plan? And we'll sit down and have a discussion, and it's up to him to execute his plan for the day. And I tell you, I've had some absolutely phenomenal leaders. The last couple of years, I've had some great leaders. Sometimes we have one leader, which is a battalion commander throughout the year. This year we had two, and they were a great tag team. We had a young lady, Miss Marissa Seifer, and another fellow by the name of Paul Forsberg, and just a great tag team. Each came out leadership a little bit differently, but the important thing is they loved those whom they serve, and I think that was the game changer for this year. And they served them. It's not as if, okay, you know, they just say, here's what we're going to do. Is they came alongside them and said, how can I help you? Which is a very, very different aspect and way of coming at leadership, but that's the best way to do it. And we need, David, more so than ever before, we need absolutely terrific, godly leaders within this nation right now, and we are developing them at King's Academy JRTC, and once again, I have the privilege to be there. I'm just so fortunate that I can guide them a little bit, and I have just a snapshot of their life that I can maybe help them a little bit along the way. So it's a great experience.
Oh, it must be, and you know, the feeling you must have when you go home at night must be absolutely incredible. That the work that you're doing and the work that you're doing, and watching these kids mold and build within as leaders. And you know, it must be a great feeling to be able to say, well, maybe we do stand a chance because of the leaders that we're building, and I hope it's across the country, and it will be that big, because, like you said to begin with, we're in a time right now that we need leadership, and we need young folks to look at what's going on and say, this is wrong, I can do better, and I will take the bull by the horns and do better.
Yes. And I can tell you, it takes teamwork. I have a non-commissioned officer, and as I said, his name was Robert Clements. He's a sergeant first class. And as you well know, being in the military, officers and NCOs, they do different things. They're trained different ways. And so in every junior ROTC program, and also at the ROTC program, which is the senior level, they'll always have an officer and a non-commissioned officer, because the officers and non-commissioned officers look at leadership, look at executing and completing the mission a little bit differently. For an officer, I was trained as a leader to be more of a manager, a technical expert in my field as a helicopter pilot. But I also had to lead. I had to manage. I had to learn supply, and a more comprehensive approach with the non-commissioned officers, as you well know. The non-commissioned officers are the ones who are really working down there with the soldiers, or in this case, the cadets, teaching them drill and ceremony, teaching them discipline, and really more hands-on. And so we come at it as a team when we train and teach our cadets. And then the school, too. The school is a big supporter of it. The King's Academy, they provide us resources, a classroom, facilities, give us a lot of flexibility, and so it's a great teamwork. So it's not all me. It's really a teamwork. And then I invite the parents in there too. And I tell you, I couldn't do what I do, and we couldn't accomplish this mission with these kids without great parental support. And so and once again, it all starts with the family, and I love working with my parents as well.
Let me ask, and I don't know, and I normally wouldn't ask something like this because I didn't go over it with you before the show, but out of your parents, this is sort of like this show, and when I talk to Vietnam veterans and so forth, Vietnam veterans in many cases don't want to talk about their experience with somebody that hadn't been in the military. And they'll talk to me because I was in that era, and we all went through the same basic training. We all raised our right hand and so forth and so on. So my question is, out of the parents that you work with, how many would you expect have some type of military background, and are, when you say they're supporting their kids and so forth, have been in the military or have, some relationship to the military, and can you tell the difference in the kids?
Well, it's a great question because, and just to answer it very simply, most of the parents have not had direct military experience. Now, they might have. We'll talk, and as I get to know them better, and they'll say, my dad served, or I had an uncle. In some cases, we've had parents that have served in the National Guard, maybe even active duty. But for the most part, they don't know what it is to serve in the military. They're intrigued, they see the value, and they want to help their young man or young lady experience something new. So they said, what? Here's a new activity, JROTC. We may have tried sports, we may have tried drama, and that either worked or it didn't work. But we're going to try this thing called JROTC. And I can tell you, most of the kids that come into JROTC absolutely love it. They're a little hesitant. Sometimes their parents say, "You're going to try this, whether you like it or not." Excuse me. I had a daughter like that she was kicking and screaming, didn't want to go, and so she went to JROTC. 4 years later, she became the battalion commander and absolutely loved it. So that happens, but yeah, and to answer the second part of that question, I can say you asked, can you tell the difference between parents that have had military experience and have not? And I can answer that and say not really, because the most important thing that we can get from the home is love. And that's what these parents are providing for these kids, because they want them. And you said it earlier, we always want better for our kids.
Sure.
And that's what these parents want, and they want to help them however they can to realize how God made them. And so I think that's the most important thing. And you see that. You see the love of these kids come through their character, with their values, with their excitement, what they want to accomplish, and it's a win-win for everyone.
Rick, you're extraordinary. And we're going to take a quick break. Like I said, this is sort of my show, but it's also sort of the show for the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame, and we always like to talk about that. And I believe you have a little connection with the Hall of Fame, right?
I do, yes. Oh, my goodness, yeah. There's a couple of organizations that we absolutely love to help and serve, and Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame is one of them. The American Legion is the other one. But the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame, Colonel Rick White is a terrific leader. He was one of my guest speakers one year at my military ball. Great American. And
Absolutely.
He's the one that he's invited us down to the state capitol once a year, and we actually induct those veterans that have been chosen to as the new class to come into the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. It's a privilege. We're down there with the governor. It's a big deal. We're at the rotunda of the state capitol this year. We work with a Navy organization, Navy JROTC, so it's joint, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And we're privileged to do it, and that they ask us back every year.
You know, there's I want to throw out one other thing, and this is the Johns Creek Healing Wall, which Johns Creek took the 50% size wall that traveled all over the United States. It's a replica, 50% size replica of the Vietnam Veterans Wall Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. And JC is gonna be putting a kiosk up that you'll be able to go in, type in a name of a friend or family member, and it'll give you the exact location of that name where you can go and etch it off or whatever you want to do. But it's open. It's open basically 24/7 in Newtown Park in Johns Creek, Georgia, and certainly you're invited to both. The Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame is open Monday through Friday, and we encourage you, if you're coming to Atlanta, go see it. Go to the Johns Creek Healing Wall. And also, Peachtree Corners has a memorial to Vietnam veterans. So North Georgia and Georgia in general are more and more doing their part. Now, I want to get back to, I was there this past March or whenever it was at the,
yes, right.
For the induction. And, I've told this story again and again, and I guess it started when I would go to football games at my alma mater, Texas Tech, many, many years ago when I was a kid. And I still get, and I'm not a kid anymore by any means, even my white hair proves that. But I still get, God, I hate to admit this, but I still get chill bumps, and the hair stands up on my arms and my neck when a good, proficient honor guard passes.
Oh, my goodness.
And I loved it when I was in the service and saluted, and still salute when our flag goes by. And a good honor guard, I just, I could get down on my knees, but not for the same reason other people do.
There you go. And and we have one of those. So that's one of our more active. We call it a special team. It's we call it a color guard, and 4-person color guard. And they compete against other schools throughout the metro area. We do very well, but they're the most active team because once someone sees our color guard, they ask for it, and they ask for us by name. The American Legion is one of them. We did a flag retirement ceremony at the beginning, I guess back in March, and then we did another function, I think it was a Memorial Day ceremony, where we have the ability to have our color guard. And that was through the American Legion, Post 316 in Woodstock. So our color guard, and that's, I think, probably one of the most patriotic special teams that you can be on. And we've been all over the city. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, we even had our color guard go down to Atlanta with the All Academy Military Ball, which are all the service academies
Wow.
that come up in December, and they used our color guard as the color guard of choice throughout the metro area
That's
to present
fantastic.
the colors that evening.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. My youngest son that's in the military graduated from Texas A&M, so we always had a little house dispute. I graduated from Texas Tech, and he from A&M, but we'd go to their football games or go down to visit him, and A&M from start to finish, it can make your hairs stand up, and their color guard and their fight song and all of this is just incredible. And I and this is a shame if our young folks aren't exposed to something like that and exposed to what does the flag mean. And so many people today don't know what the flag means. Why is it red, white, and blue? Why do we have X number of stars? What do those stars mean? There are people that don't even have a clue what the stars mean or what they represent. And,
that's a great point, David. And tradition. There are many traditions within the military, and a lot of people wonder why do we salute? Well, there's a reason why we salute. It's a tradition. It goes back to medieval days.
Mm-hmm.
When someone would come up on a horse and they're in the suit of armor, the salute was initially developed from one soldier picking up his face shield so another could see his face shield, and so it's not down. And so, but there are all kinds of traditions, where a senior ranking officer always walks to the right of and a little bit in front of a subordinate officer or a subordinate military member, is so he could draw his sword to protect whatever unit, however small or large it was, because often they were right-handed, and the senior ranking member of the service was always best with a sword. So all these military traditions, and we still teach them at JRTC, are still alive and well. And I know Texas A&M has got many, probably more than most schools. So it's fun to see it.
The older I get, and when you're going through basic or AIT or whatever, and you're a grunt, and you say, "Why in the world are we doing that? This is stupid." And then 50 years later, I realize why we did it, and what it means to do it, and
and you don't forget it.
No, and I even step off out of my shower in the morning with my left foot, and
that's right.
So it sticks.
And I love the way you started your show with the Jody.
Oh yeah.
You'd run to them, you'd walk to them. You don't forget those throughout the year, lifetime.
And the cadence call got me through. I did my AIT, basic and AIT at Fort Ord, California, and on the forced marches, you would think, "Oh God, I don't know if I'm going to make it the next mile or the next step," and then either your platoon leader or your drill sergeant would start up a Jody, and it just sort of puts a smile on your face, and no matter how many times you've done it or said it or sung it or whatever you do to them, we have do you know Richard Dix, I assume?
Yes, I do. I saw the interview. Yeah, great.
Yeah, and Richard will start when he's released again from the military, when he retires again from the military, and comes back doing his show. He always starts his show by doing a Jody, and it's here's a general that, like you said, we remember it always, and he's got a good voice, and he loves doing them, and
and really it serves a purpose. I mean, it keeps your mind active, it keeps the unit in step, and it helps you breathe better too. So there's just so many reasons for it, but that's once again military tradition that's continued throughout the years, and you don't realize that there's a reason for what we do, and it's often if we don't sit down, if we don't think about it, it just becomes rote. But often for many of these traditions and what we do today, there's a reason for it.
Oh, absolutely. And, I must apologize to you, sir, in that I called you Rick several times, and I didn't get permission from you to do that. And
that's okay, David. My friends call me Rick. Your friend.
But I learned very well in basic that you don't call an officer by their name or last name or anything, or by their rank. You say, sir. End of statement. And I was taught that very well, and I did a number of push-ups one time to that. And I learned it.
Thank you for your kindness and your thought, but Rick's okay. I'm retired.
Thank you, sir. But and let's get back to the junior ROTC. Are you getting more or less folks, young people joining, and what's the trend across the country?
Yeah, no, another great question. So it's a high school program, so 9 through 12. But as you well know, a number of years back, this began Hope Scholarship, and then we also began another program which is driven by the Hope Scholarship. It's called dual enrollment, where you have kids, and the whole intent behind it was to transition a kid in his preferably, it started with the senior year. Now I think it can start as early as the junior year. For a kid who is thinking about college and is college bound, to get used to college, so you're able to take college classes that are similar to a high school class in high school, and you get college credit for them. So what's happened over the years is more and more kids have run to dual enrollment, and if you're taking a college class sometimes, and this is, it goes on their college transcript, and it's in essence free college to them. So when they graduate high school, they immediately have a bump of, let's say, anywhere from 6 to 8 to 12, however many college hours when they graduate high school. So that's very attractive to kids and to families. So how it affects me in JRTC, I sometimes wind up losing great leaders and great cadets and families to dual enrollment. Sometimes the kids will stay, and that's been. I've had some terrific leaders. Sometimes some kids can do it all. They can do dual enrollment, they can do a sport, they can do an activity, and do well in school and dual enroll. Sometimes they say, sir, I just don't see a future. I'm not interested in the military. I think I'm going to become an electrical engineer, a teacher, whatever it may be. And but I don't choose the military. I say, well, that's fine. And they say, I loved your program. We had a lot of fun, but that's not for me. So they're the ones that might wind up leaving. The ones that are thinking about the military and academies and ROTC program or enlisting, they're the ones often that stay. And so that's good for them, because if you spend 3 years in ROTC and you enlist, you're enlisting at I think a grade higher. You're enlisting at an E3 or an E2 versus. So I would say with us, our program is steady around we enroll at the beginning of the year around 50 cadets. There are some, but we're a small school. Mm-hmm. There are some schools that have, oh my goodness, upwards of 200, 250 cadets in their program, but that's probably a 7A public school, and so they have a much bigger program than we do. But yeah, great question. So what we've done, and JRTC has done this year, David, is they've actually recognized that we tend to lose. It's like a pyramid. Most of the kids come in, let's say, the freshman year, mm-hmm. and every year we lose a little bit more as they figure out if it's for them or not. So by the time it gets to the top of the pyramid at the senior level, you really have just somewhat less than what you came in with 4 years ago. So what they've done this year is JRTC has extended a pilot program, and the pilot program is including 8th graders. So we are one of the ones that was selected to bring some 8th grade students into the King's Academy this year, and we've already had some families contact us. So JRTC and Cadet Command wants to recognize that 4 years of JRTC is absolutely critical, but if we lose them their senior year, then we got to back it up a year. And so we're trying that to see how it's going to work this year. And so we're very excited about it.
Now, there was a time, and we didn't have a junior ROTC program when I was in school, in high school, junior high school or high school, and even in college, there were folks. Well, my time was not a good time during the Vietnam War, but and a lot of folks would make fun of ROTC members. Do you all ever face that, or is that something that's finally gone away?
No, I think at the JROTC, I think some it's a smaller percentage of the overall high school student body that plug into JROTC. I think more would enjoy it than we have actually coming into the program, but for whatever reason they don't try it. Mm-hmm. What we find out is if they have a friend in there, and the friend tells them, "Hey, let me tell you what we're doing in JROTC," and they hear about all the cool stuff we're doing, then they say, "Okay, hey, I'm going to try that." And so it's often best if they I shouldn't say best, but it's more attractive to them sometimes, depending upon the cadet and the student. If they know somebody in JROTC, then they can kind of tell them ahead of time, and they have a buddy in there. But as far as being ostracized or looked down upon, the ROTC program, the JROTC program, does not experience that. They love us. The school loves us, and we help the school, and I think that they love the cadets as well.
Yeah. Do you think there'd be a possibility of your color guard coming to America's Web Radio and introducing themselves?
I'm sorry?
Do you think there'd be a possibility of your color guard coming to America's Web Radio and introducing themselves and talking about the program?
I would love for them to do, absolutely. I think if we want to do it, I think we could have a lot of fun with it. I've got an awesome color guard, and it would be an honor for us to be able to do that.
Well, we do video as well as just audio, and I think you and I'll talk about it, and just as long as they don't point at the old man that's got chill bumps when they come in,
Yeah.
I often wonder about myself in that I've never been put in the situation, and I hope I never am. But if I came across somebody burning my flag or doing anything else to it, I'm not sure what I would do. And I don't ever want to be put in that position, because it would drive me crazy, because I've always, my parents taught, my dad was a naval officer in World War II, and we talked about it some, but we didn't dwell on it. He never dwelled on it, and he didn't stay in. I remember when he retired from the reserves, but I still respected him, and we always in my family honored the flag, and that was just that was the beginning and the end of the story. And
well, David, and I think I sent you a note that the color guard. I mean, it's one of the most patriotic that we have within our organization, of course, because you have the ability to present the flag to the community and the world, and so, I mean, what can be more patriotic than that? And especially have the privilege to walk beside it and hold it. But we also have several other teams too. We have a drill team, a rifle team. We have a Raider team, academic leadership team, and we have a cyber team. And robotics, which is this year, phenomenal, and we're the best in the state right now at the platinum level as far as cyber. We have a great dad that leads us. Michael Kirshner does an awesome job. He's one of our parents, and he volunteers his time to lead this team. It's just absolutely incredible what they're able to achieve. And many of them go on to college, and we're as far as cyber. I mean, you hear about. I mean, how many? Sometimes you hear about this nation is having a cyber attack on the U.S. on our systems. And so we need these young people out there being able to, to help defend us as far as cyber attacks, and it starts here. And so we got some terrific cadets, great cyber team.
I've got to ask this, and this is a reflection in what you've told me, and the excitement that I hear in your voice. That tells a lot of the story. But you've been doing it how many years?
This is my 10th year.
10th year. Okay, so how many of the kids that have gone on have you heard from in the last 10 years?
And that's the beautiful thing. These cadets, and I'm so glad you're asking some great questions. I'm glad you asked that question too, because what warms my heart is when these cadets, these beautiful cadets, go off to do some great things and then come back and they say, Colonel, I just want to let you know that I want to come by and say hello. Sometimes they just pop in. And what I'll always do if I'm in the middle of a lesson and I see a cadet, he comes over unannounced, I'll always stop class and say, okay, hey, here's so-and-so. There are pictures up on the wall on a composite, and I'll say, he was here 8 years ago, and this is what he did. Now he's back. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing? And I love to highlight them. And so, it goes so fast, and what sometimes these cadets that are before me, my high school cadets, say, you know what, he was just like me. I'm where he is 8 years ago right now. And they kind of think of what can be, and so that's why I always love to have cadets come back and see. It happens quite a bit where they just want to come in, say hello to me, and just talk to the cadets and just say hello. So it's a beautiful thing. It
is, and I'm sitting here saluting you as you're speaking, in that. You said it's not you. Well, it is you. And, leadership can start at the bottom or it can start at the top. But leadership is still leadership. And the respect that a leader gets is a reflection of the job that he's done, he or she has done. And one other thing and you mentioned this, and again, I want to point out the fact that when I was growing up 100 years ago, there were certainly women in the military, but generally speaking, it was in a nurse's role or something like this. But we now have some great women leaders in the military. Yes. Personally, I hate to see them when they're in a combat position. I still have my gentleman feelings or whatever, and I'm not a big supporter of women in a combat, not zone, but a combat, situation. But with that being said, we still have some women that served so honorably in Vietnam and have served so honorably, and some of them I think might have been competing with you, sir, in that helicopter maybe.
That's right. Yeah. I've served alongside some great young ladies.
So, and as I salute others, I always want to remember that the women have served, and it's sort of like before they really got into active duty in all branches, they were still serving. And I also like to point out that for every person that's in the military, the family is in the military right alongside them, and their support of them in one situation or another.
Absolutely, and you said something about how important it is to select a good leader, and we actually have the privilege of having a lot of good leaders, and it's just hard. It's hard to select the right one because there are so many good leaders, but they're often is one we select that win the position or compete and are selected for the position of battalion commander. And you said that the leader sets the tone for the organization, and I've seen that because we're a cadet-run program. And the top leader in our organization is absolutely critical because so goes the leader, so goes the organization. If you have an organization that is functioning well, you can look at that top leader and say, okay, he's doing what he needs to do, and it's often serving. And so this past year, and we had two great leaders, and one was a female the first part of the year, and then we ended up with and both came at it.
Sir, you're breaking up
And I mentioned
terribly.
Oh, sorry, but both have done a great job. And so,
There's
I
an
haven't gone anywhere.
there's the old farm saying the cream rises to the top, and I think
That's right.
most great leaders, I come back to this because this is one of the first, as a kid, one of the first war movies I ever went with my family, as a matter of fact, Hell and Back with Audie Murphy, and it was his story, and
Right.
he proved his leadership and started from the bottom down, and and like I said, the cream rises to the top with a leader, and in anything.
It's true.
But this is we're going to have to get out of here in a couple of minutes. But last statement, sir.
Yeah. So I'm just so pleased to be able to be at the helm of this organization. But it's not me. It's a team, and I look at the cadets, and I have some great cadets and great families, as I said before. But I just want to give God all the credit and all the glory and all the honor, because I tell you, without Him, none of this would be possible. And so I'm just so privileged and pleased that God can use me in this position. So, and we're enrolling now too, I might add. That so if anybody's interested in enrolling in the King's Academy JRTC, we're starting school in about the first or second week of August. So if you're interested, you live in the metro area, specifically up around northwest Atlanta, give us a try. We'd love to have you come on board with us.
So this is the decision that the school has made. What type of is this going to be a separation thing or mask or?
Well, it looks at this point we're a private school, a private homeschool school. So if you homeschool or you're in a private school, we can't take public school, but because public schools have their own programs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're homeschooled, which most kids homeschool, private school, then we'd love to have you. And we're going to start. We're going to start physically, and so that's the second week of August at this point. So I think the school starts the 10th. We start the 12th with JRTC.
Fantastic. Rick, I want to thank you again for coming on, and I certainly want to talk to you about getting some of you and some of your kids into the studio, and we'll just have a good time doing it for sure. And want to remind everybody we've been speaking with Colonel Rick Stepat, that is retired from the U.S. Army, and he was a helicopter pilot as well as intel. And we certainly appreciate you taking your time. And folks that want to listen to it again, it will be posted on our archives probably later today, or at least by tomorrow, and you can listen to it anytime. And if you want to put it on your website, sir, you're welcome to do anything you want to with it. And we'll be in touch on getting me chill bumps with the color guard.
Great. Thank you so much, David. I really enjoyed the discussion today.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye.
Bye. You're listening to America's Web Radio, and we'll be back with more right after this.
AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.